Are you on edge? We live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of the Edge of Everyday podcast, which drops bi-monthly on all your favorite podcast platforms. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and tough talk about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. Real talk with real people that sparks provocative invitations to leap out of what's safe. Sandra Bargman, on the edge of every day. Thanks for listening.
Pressing down on you, no man has fall under pressure. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Edge of Everyday, now at maximizeu.life and streaming on your favorite podcast platforms. Are you a change maker? Do you walk between worlds, between cultures, between systems? If you answered yes to any of these questions, the Edge of Everyday is the place for you. In a nutshell, this podcast is about pushing boundaries and exploring rough edges. Through conversations and shared stories with friends and colleagues, it's my hope that we can begin to understand our edges. And what I mean by edges is those places where we are fearful, those places where we are resistant to change, those places where paradox and contradicting identities live in our beliefs and in our understandings, both individually and collectively. We live in edgy, challenging times. We cannot keep looking away from the ugly, from the difficult, and silence is no longer an option. Life isn't black or white, it's both, and I want to talk about that. I want to face the tension of paradox, and I wanted to engage in the hard conversations. I want to explore the rough edges between our light-filled brilliance and our dark, shadowy corners. Because the more we recognize our own edges and get real about them, the more we can help others to do the same, and that I fully believe can help to change the world. So, thanks for tuning in. You may recall that I started my podcast a few years back at talkradio.nyc. And while I was there, I recorded 56 episodes with some very inspiring guests. You can listen to all of those episodes live on my YouTube channel, Sandra Bargman, On the Edge of Every Day. You can also revisit them at talkradio.nyc. I've been revisiting some of those former episodes and have been weaving them into my present platform at maximizeu.life and streaming on your favorite podcast platforms of choice. Today's episode was recorded in January of 2023, and it's a wonderful conversation I had with one of my most favorite people, author and spiritual teacher, Gloria Karpinski. It was such a joy to revisit this conversation. I am so deeply moved by Gloria's depth of wisdom, her connection to spirit, and her practical, down-to-earth, and gentle teaching style. We reminisced and laughed, we told stories, and Gloria weaves her very prescient messages from spirit throughout our conversation. Her words are more important than ever. Gloria is a holistic counselor, spiritual director, teacher, and author. Her seminars, as well as her individual in-depth life attunements, emphasize the relevancy of universal spiritual principles to everyday life and the interdynamics of mind, body, emotions, and spirit. She's the author of 3 books: Midnight Rainbows, a memoir with messages from my spiritual quest. This is audio only. Where Two Worlds Touch, Spiritual Rites of Passage, and Barefoot on Holy Ground, 12 Lessons in Spiritual Craftsmanship, both published by Ballantine Books. Her full bio and links are in the show notes. Please enjoy this conversation, and thanks for listening. Welcome, Gloria Karpinski.
Thank you so much, Sandra. It's such an honor to be here.
Oh my goodness. My heart is overflowing to have you on this podcast as my guest. I cannot begin to tell my listeners how I love and adore and respect this woman. So it is a great honor to have you on my show.
Oh,
Dear
thank
Gloria.
you. It's indeed an honor to be here, Thunder. I appreciate it so much, your invitation. And can I say, before I say anything else, that I love the title of this show.
Right?
I already have. I always have, ever since the first time I heard it, The Edge of Every Day.
Oh, I thought you meant this episode. Well, thank you. I love that. Thank you so much. The Edge of Every Day. Isn't it the truth?
Well, it just sums up so much, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, and you were one of the first people that I shared the actual solo show with and the CD with. And of course, because I so value your opinion and your input
thank you.
And your great mentorship. So well, and speaking of
right back at you, by the way.
Thank you. Well, I like to tell my listeners where my guests come from, and of course, the way I've been gushing, I'm sure that they've already realized that I know you well. But how I know Gloria, how I met her, is, as I mentioned in reading your delicious CV, Gloria's texts are used in seminaries as her books are used as texts, and in seminary. Not in the first year when I was at the new seminary. It was the second year students who were using Barefoot on Holy Ground. So you were invited in to be the keynote speaker for the new seminary for interfaith studies at the end of my first year. So I hadn't used your book yet, but you know what I heard from the grapevine, and oh my goodness, Gloria Karpinski's coming in for the keynote. Everyone was absolutely thrilled, and of course I attended the graduation. It was at St. John the Divine, and you were divine as well. And I really so appreciated everything that you spoke about, and was so looking forward to. And you also gave an intensive that anyone that was a student at the new seminary could attend. And that was very moving. So then fast forward. Well, no, I'm going to wait for fast forwarding. I want to talk about mentorship. So I said in all of my social media about you that I really consider you a mentor. And I personally do not use that word often. And I know you'll get a kick out of this. I know you know this about me. It's my rebel spirit. I can count on one hand the number of people I consider mentors. And you are at the top of that list. So again, now that I've regaled you, yes, we're going to swing back to mentorship, but I love to ask all of my guests. This is a new fabulous, well, it's fabulous to me question, and I will be interested. I have a sense of how you're going to answer this, but it really is in today's world where people are doing so many things and exploring so many parts of themselves, and where identity and gender and so many things are becoming so more fluid and more balanced and at edge of every day coming together. What identity do you, Gloria Karpinski, lead with in your life?
What identity?
What identity?
Oh, what a question. That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Because I often speak of the fact that the whole spiritual quest is about remembering a true identity, which is we're son and daughter of the Mother, Father, God. Yeah. I mean, that's true identity, right?
Yes.
So right now I'm experiencing being Gloria, Right. Real identity. Yes, I start with that. I have a prayer that I start every day with: I am a being of light, daughter of the Mother, Father, God.
Yeah.
This day, only that which is my highest good shall come to me. Only that which is light shall leave from me. Every day of my life starts that way. So it's that I am, as you well know, is the strongest thing we ever preface anything with, is I am. It's like a decree, you know?
Indeed.
So
I am.
I always want to start with that because, you know, if the temptation is very great to get caught up in every other identity, the roles we're playing. Mm-hmm.
That's why it's such a fun question. You know, it's all,
yeah, it is a fun question.
And there's so many tendrils that you could go out on in terms of how you're going to answer that.
Yeah.
Well, a beautiful, beautiful answer. And, you know, Mother, Father, God, I love the yin and the yang, the male and the female portion of creation, the edge of every day. Just as beautiful. Well, I want to swing back to thank you for that luscious answer and for the prayer. Mentoring. As I mentioned, I consider you a great mentor, but you and I have talked about how during COVID, I've really felt a call to community in a way that I had never been called to it before.
Mm-hmm.
COVID really revealed that to me. Mm-hmm. And I feel as though it also has revealed mentorship. Would you agree? Do you feel that there's an increased call? I know you feel this about community. We've talked about this, but I haven't asked you about mentorship. What are your feelings around mentorship and the increase of mentorship?
Well, I think for one thing, we need to be clear in our definition of what we consider mentorship to be.
Yes.
Because, you know, there comes a time when you really are aware that everything in the environment is potentially your mentor, if you're paying attention.
Yes.
And when you start looking for specifics, the law of attraction kicks in. If the quest is sincere, you know, then you magnetize out of millions of possibilities the people to you that will maybe give you answers or inspiration or direction. They may also mirror for you exactly what's the opposite of it, which is part of the mentorship.
Indeed.
not always the fun part of it.
Very strong leadership.
To the personality, but it's definitely part of the path. Yeah.
Indeed.
So I think mentorship is very complicated because you find it in books, you find it in classes. You know, there is a concept in Hinduism of the guru that sits next to you.
Yeah.
The Upaguru, I think it's called. and that is a state of consciousness in which you recognize that that the person next to you may be your mentor for that moment.
Yes.
And it's you know, it can be even variations of out of the mouth of babes. Do you know?
Oh my goodness. Well, if we believe that every person is our teacher / mentor.
Absolutely.
Of course, in each. But I have felt a sense of wanting, particularly young women, to be reaching out, and me reaching back to younger women in mentorship and really wanting, you know, to share it in a way that, and I'm sure it's the age, it's the perfect combination of COVID and my age and where I am in life. But
may I interrupt you to say that that is also the fact that you're plugged into what's really happening on planet Earth. Because from the very beginning of my work, which has been several decades ago, one of the major things that I was taught in spirit, and it has never changed in all these years, is that the centerpiece, not an also ran, the centerpiece of this evolutionary spiral that we're in is the restoration of the divine feminine in human consciousness. And I think it's actually the hope of this planet.
Oh, and I know for certain that there would be a cheer around the globe in agreement with that. Yeah. Listen, we need to go to break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we will pick up where we left off on the divine feminine, and we're going to move into where two worlds touch and change, and the difference between spirituality and religion. I want Gloria to share her beautiful, beautiful metaphor for that. When we come back on the Edge of Everyday with Gloria Karpinski. Stay tuned.
Hey there. Thanks for listening to me, Sandra Bargman, and my inspirational guests on the Edge of Every Day here at MaximizeU.life. Making the choice to park my podcast on MaximizeU.life has been a game changer. Maximize You is an AI-powered technology platform to maximize your potential and propel transformation for a balanced, happier, and impactful life. It was a perfect fit. At MaximizeU.life, we ask, how can you alter your mindset, attitudes, and actions and learn the fundamental values and perspectives to drive your growth? Customize your growth plan at MaximizeU.life to maximize impact and achieve your desired goals. Email us at coach@MaximizeU.life.
Pushing down on me, pressing down on you, no man has fall. Chipping around, kick my brain to the ground. These are the days it never rained, but it pours
On the Edge of every day. And we are back with Gloria Karpinski. Gloria, we have a shout out to Farrell Sylvester, who says, delighted to be here. Gloria has meant a great deal to me.
That is very nice. Thank you so much, Farrell.
Just wonderful. Hello, Farrell. Thank you. She means a great deal to me too, and many, many others. So let's move into where two worlds touch. We're going to touch on all your books, and hopefully all the stories will spiral out from your books. I'm thrilled to say that after I had reached out and met Gloria and pursued her, stalked her to be my mentor, she wonderfully asked me to be the narrator, the voice narrator for the audio, the abridged audio version of Where Two Worlds Touch, which I have right here. I have gloriously, and I'm going to re-listen to it now that we've had a talk. I've listened to it over and over, but it's been a bit of time. But what I love about this book, and in retrospect and doing my research, is the Where Two Worlds Touch. It's the edge of every day, Gloria. Where two worlds touch, it's the same. It's the and it speaks about, it deals with the greatest, in my opinion, the biggest edge that we human beings face is our fear of change.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And if we're not really careful, we can be lured right back into habits of thinking and justify them and so forth. I'll tell you something interesting. The Spirit said that is an expression that I've really liked that speaks to that. And the phrase was, beware the seduction of the familiar. And I like that so much because of the fact it didn't say beware the trap of the familiar or beware falling back into habits. It was the seduction of the familiar. And I think that's a warning to us that the past and habits and things that are conditioned that are at a cellular level are very seductive. And we might not like them, and we may say, I want to change them. But the thing is, the truth is that they are comfortable. We know what to do. We know what the rules are. Do you know what I mean? Whereas we go to the edge of every day, we go to that edge, it's like, well, wait a minute, I got to figure out how to function here, you know. And it's a lot about giving up that which we've outgrown
Mm.
And moving into the what can appear to be the unknown, but starts to be very familiar once you've done it, once you've lived it. It's like,
Totally.
it's, you know.
Well, and it's funny, as somebody who, as an edge walker myself, and somebody who I personally thrive on change, I believe. Do you think that some people are cellularly more comfortable with change or more inclined towards sticking with the familiar, being seduced by the familiar?
Well, I think that we're all human, but we all come with unique intentionality.
Yeah.
And so I think to generalize about that, it would be risky.
Indeed.
Because what I'm reminded of actually is something I haven't thought about in a while, but one time Spirit told me that it would take 4 different types of energies to make this turning that we're in.
Yes.
And the first are the visionaries. And of course, they welcome change. They're very happy to leap into the unknown and so forth.
Yes.
And then, yes, of course, there we are, right? Yeah. And then come the rebels who really raise sand with the known realities.
Yes.
And they're protesting all over the way, and they're challenging systems and doing so forth and so on. Then there are the bridge builders who come along and they say, wait a minute, let's understand each other.
Yes.
Let's understand where we've been, our history. Let's understand all of that, as well as where we're going.
Yes.
Where we're dreaming, what the vision is, that's by enough of us that it's a collective vision, And then come, what really surprised me was the term used was the conservatives. And it did not mean conservative as in political. It meant those that preserve the best of what we've learned thus far. That kind of energy is also required.
Oh, indeed.
So, I can't. So when I try to answer that question, it's like, it depends on what a person's intentionality is when they incarnate. If they've come in to serve any one of those as a dominant theme in their life.
Indeed. Because you can cross over and become one in one situation and another.
Exactly.
However, one would be strongest. Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you wrote Where Two Worlds Touch in 1992, feeling, and it just, the prescient quality of this book, where we are at the crossroads and the quickening where we are in the world today, is unbelievable. And so how did you, what was the inspiration for writing this book? I think I've heard, I remember this story.
Gosh, that's so long ago.
I want my listeners to hear it.
Well, I'm going to answer that kind of all the way around to get to the point, maybe. And I'm not sure I can get to the point.
That's okay.
Because it's been a very long time. But I would say that at that point, my work had opened. And I had developed an obedience, for lack of a better word, to the guidance that I had from the inside out and from the outside in, where they met. And my guidance had taken me from the healing work, which started everything. And that's not a way I earn a living, but it is the ground for everything else that followed. But then that followed with readings.
Right, the attunements.
The attunements, exactly. Right. And so over a period of the years that followed, I was aware of the patterns that I was seeing emerged in change and how it was taking place, and the ones that I was seeing. And by this time I was teaching. And so I was being able, to see that also in people reporting in class, not just, the one-on-one.
Right.
And so put that together with then the guidance from spirit that it was time to write. I always knew that writing would be part of my,
Oh, sure. You started out as a journalist.
I did, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's a long way around of answering that question. I'm not sure it even answers it, but so the inspiration was what? People. It was people attending my classes. It was individuals that sat with me and gave me the privilege of entering into their inner field, their lives, and it was spirit guidance.
Yeah.
And
Well, as I recall, also an editor or a publisher reached out to you, which I loved. Word about you had gotten out, and that you needed to write this book. Well, we've got 2 minutes to break, and
okay.
So, but life attunements. You've got 2 minutes. Share with us a little bit more about. And we can take a break and pick it up when we get back. But I think 2 minutes in general, a life attunement is, Gloria, beautifully, part of the payment that I received for doing the audio was this fantastic life attunement. And interestingly, you told me that I was to write a book in my life attunement from you. And I remember thinking, that's ridiculous. I have no aspiration in the world to write a book, and I'm on the precipice of writing my own book. And I've contributed a chapter to someone else's book that's doing very well.
I'm not at all surprised about it either.
Right, exactly. Not at all surprised. Well, you know what? I'm going to hold that question and we'll go to break. So I'll let you speak more relaxed about what a life attunement is. And then we will move into your other books and some other stories and what a pragmatic visionary is when we come back with Gloria Karpinski on the Edge of Every Day. Stay tuned.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to me, Sandra Bargman, on the Edge of Every Day here on MaximizeU.life. I am committed to having courageous conversations around the important issues we face in our complex world. You may know that I'm a lifelong performing arts professional, and I am a seminary-trained and ordained interfaith minister. But did you know that I'm an impactful communication teacher? What to say, how to say it, and why it matters is at the heart of everything I do and everything I teach. Check out my online course, The Big Approach, here at MaximizeU.life to build your confidence and presence for more impactful communication. The Big Approach is not about bigger, louder, faster. The Big Approach is about weaving creativity and actor skills with emotional intelligence skills for a holistic and wholly unique method to transform you into your best and biggest self. The Big Approach, here on MaximizeU.life.
Pressure pushing down on me, pressing down on you, no man has fall. Chipping around, kick my brain to the ground. These are the days it never rained, but it pours
on the edge of every day. And we are back with Gloria Karpinski. And you don't need to go majorly in depth, because this is something that people can read about when they run to your website. But I do want people to have a sense of what it's like to work with you one-on-one. So what is a life attunement?
Well, short version.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that when a person comes, we start with prayer. Because I'm only interested in entertaining that which is going to be for the highest good of the person, and that would enter my energy field.
Yes,
I do work a lot with spirit, and I use that word spirit to cover that may be a lot of territory, but not get involved in a lot of encumbered language.
yes,
Sometimes it is a guide, sometimes it's an angel.
Mm.
You know, and sometimes it's the spirit, is simply the spirit of the person itself.
Yes.
So the life attunement, the purpose of it is to support a person in becoming who they really are by addressing them from the spirit outward into how it's manifesting professionally, personally, in the challenges that they've brought in to work with, their karma, we could say, in the contributions they've come to make, where they are when they're stuck. We look at those things and so forth.
Yes.
Generally speaking, because we all manifest in at least several frequencies at one time, there's information on each one of those levels. Okay.
Yes.
And so very often an attunement or a life reading starts with a symbol that gestalts all seven. And then we work with that symbol for a long period of time, unraveling it, seeing what its implications might be, and so forth. And of course, the point is to support them in becoming more and more who they are, and dealing with the challenges that they're facing.
Yeah.
And helping them to maybe discover talents they didn't even know they had, or if they did, to encourage them in it, and so forth. And that's just the tip of it.
Of course.
Actually,
Indeed.
you know,
Indeed. It's difficult to get into in this format, but it was so profound for me, and that I did want to give our listeners a taste of it. Tell me, Gloria, did you always, as a young person, and you got into journalism, as a young person, were you aware of these skills that you had? Vision, clairvoyance, information coming through. Was that something that you were very plugged into from the get-go?
Yes and no. In fact, I've just written about that in this new book that I'm working on. I cannot remember a time that I wasn't saying, "Why are we here?"
Yes. Oh,
I can't
you
remember
and I
a
share
time
that.
that I didn't see pictures in my head, and I thought everybody did because I was a perfectly normal child.
Right.
You know, I wasn't running around with psychic data all the time. You know, but I always saw pictures in my head. I always questioned. Let me back that up. I started questioning seriously around 8 or 9.
Yes.
You know, my parents were not interested in religion, and I couldn't stay away. So I tootled down to the church by myself and fell in love with Jesus. You know, and I loved the whole thing, and then started seeing a lot of things that I thought were what I would today say were not congruent.
Yes.
Teachings, and it challenged me. But by the time I got to college, I was exposed to, of course, world religions, and what grew for me was looking for the commonality. Where is the mystical teachings behind it all? You know, and that's continued to fascinate me.
And I have followed in those footsteps as well.
Mhm.
Well, this would be a great place to ask about your beautiful on Gloria's YouTube channel. She has a beautiful video that speaks about the difference between spirituality and religion. You know, I get asked this a lot. I'm sure you get asked this a lot, which is why you created this. And I remember reading it in your books and just loving your description of the difference. So could you share with our listeners?
Well, I'm not sure which book you're referring to or exactly how I said it at the time. I would have to go back and look up at my own book.
The video about water.
Oh, yeah, of course. You mean that illustration? Yeah, because that's been on my website for some time. It was a vision I had that was about water pouring everywhere, and there was no limit to it.
Yeah.
And there were containers that came along, and all of the containers had some of the water, and none of the containers had all of the water. And as long as they kept the cap off of the container, it was living water. But as soon as they put the cap on the container and said, "This is it, we've got it," it started to become toxic.
Yes.
And so I felt that the water is spirituality. The water is the spirit that's everywhere, And what's interesting to me is how much the sciences of today have found languages that underline the same connected field of energy that all mystical traditions have talked about from the beginning.
Yes.
That connects all life, all centered life.
All connected.
Yeah.
Well, so let's move into you mentioned this book that you're beginning. I do want to quickly mention again the second book, Barefoot on Holy Ground. A spectacular book. And what I picked up from your website, I love that in Where Two Worlds Touch, you talked about the rhythm of change in 7 years. I loved that. And then you used 12 in Barefoot on Holy Ground. And you talked about endurance in these troubling times, the endurance, the power of endurance. And so before we get to your last book, your next book, your third book, let's talk about the divine feminine and your connection to always working towards that and your upliftment of women and your understanding in today's world that it is the women, it is the rise of the divine feminine. That is the crossroads in which we find ourselves.
It's essential. And I would say that women are leading the way on that. But, I'd really like us to expand it to think of yenness.
Yes.
Because that's where we're fundamentally out of balance. It's where we have worshipped at the altar of yangness.
Yes, yangness, indeed.
And I have been told from the beginning, as I said earlier, that the center of this evolutionary change, and that's the way Spirit refers to it, not just as another turning,
right.
but we're in the early generations of a major evolutionary change, and the seeds that we lay down now are going to grow.
Yeah.
And so it's important that we water them. And so, the thing is, we've abused the feminine, and there's a similarity between the abuse of nature
and my goodness,
of other sentient creatures, male and female, and the abuse of women. And so we've got an awful lot of work to do to bring women into an equal balance on the manifestation level.
Indeed.
But on a deeper level, we are also talking about restoring that awareness of balance that is required with yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
With just one, we are out of balance.
Yes, indeed.
So we have a lot of distortions about what yenness is.
Yenness.
And so I think that there will be a lot of teaching about yenness with men as well as women. I've been thinking about developing a workshop for men only called "What Are They Talking About?"
Well, yeah, it's a challenge to be a man right now. And
it is very challenging to be a man.
A man.
That's what I meant. Excuse me if I interrupted you, but
no,
that's what I meant was, what are they talking about would be the title of the workshop.
Exactly.
To try to, to bring them.
and where to begin with the men that genuinely want to be, it's in much the same with white supremacy. I mean, the willingness, you've got to be willing to say, help me to take my blinders off.
Yes, exactly.
Help me to show me where I am blind. Show me what I am not seeing. Help me. But I'm fascinated. I'm also fascinated by, and I talk about this in Reaching Back and mentorship, and I'm fascinated with the internalized misogyny of women. That is a fascinating observance. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Would you clarify the question?
Well, no, I'm just understanding women who are upholding patriarchy, who have internalized the misogyny, and that are more in alignment. It's all part of this large story. I understand, but as women are working to gain their equality, to see women standing in the way of that is heartbreaking.
Well, it is very hard, but I think we have to be also extremely tolerant that they've been deeply programmed.
Indeed.
And we're talking about centuries, hundreds of years.
Indeed.
I can say what I have seen in doing life readings and what I have seen in classes, because I teach, among other things, I teach a course called Renewal, which is about the divine feminine. And the damage that's been done down through the centuries is carried by a lot of women today.
Yes.
And the fears are great. I mean, we could start with something as fundamental as thinking, if I speak up and speak out and break out, am I going to be hanged again?
Right.
Am I going to be burned again?
Well, the epigenetics, how that lives in the cells of women,
absolutely. And, it's a very complicated subject, but
it is indeed.
But I think we have to, like we do with everything, we have to embrace it. I had a wonderful experience with a monk who had been imprisoned and tortured by the Chinese for 21 years. And I had the privilege of meeting with him and was told I could ask him anything I wanted to. And I only ask him the same thing I ask anybody who's been through intolerable things. And that was what got you through it.
Yeah.
And I loved his answer because he didn't hesitate for a moment. He said, it was my karma and I embraced it. And because I did, I could practice what I knew. And therein is the key, is the minute that we embrace what it is. We can practice what we know, but if we don't embrace it, we can't even get to what we know. Okay, so I think that for a lot of women, for example, that you're speaking of, that's very hard to get through that first mountain of embracing. Maybe it has to do with their karmic history. Maybe it has to do with their family patterns, with fear. And fear, as we know, is constriction.
Yeah, our continued socialization.
So I think there are so many reasons why, but I think that it's imperative that we love our sisters wherever, however they are, and drop seeds. You never know when a seed is going to be finding fertile soil. You really don't. I learned that a long time ago.
Amen. Well, hey, I'm writing a play that it's not about Lilith as the central person, a character in the play, but it is my hope that this play sends these seeds to a spectrum of women who are willing to look into the shadows and allow all of that to rise and to be recognized and embraced,
and where we can really get real,
Oh,
as
I
I
support,
say,
I
about
definitely,
our edges.
totally support you in doing that.
Oh,
That's wonderful.
thank you.
Can I insert here and now in addition to the divine feminine being what was stressed from the very beginning,
Mm.
has to be remembered again
Mm.
and manifested again on this planet.
Mm.
The other thing that's really, really significant is that I've been taught from the very beginning that's part of this, it's inseparable from all of it, is that everything hidden has to come to light now. Everything hidden.
Hidden.
Now that sounds very romantic when you say it
Mm.
in a certain circumstance. And when we talk about looking at, for example, racism or ageism or sexism or any of that, and we're looking at institutions, that's one thing, but it's also taking place individually. So it means that whatever fears these women, to speak, to pull it to
that
put it to that
specific
question
example.
you were asking,
Mm.
women that are feeling that way, it's bringing to the surface
Yeah.
whatever is down there. There's no way out of this because it's going to
No.
bring everything up in front and center for us to deal with.
There's no way out of this. I love that. Buckle up. We've got to take a break.
Yes.
We've got to take a break. And yes, buckle up indeed.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, Gloria Karpinski. It is so, I wish we had 3 hours for this conversation, but we are going to continue with our last bit when we come back with Gloria Karpinski on the Edge of Everyday. Stay tuned. Change challenges, relieves, frustrates, threatens, saddens, or exhilarates us. Mainly, it forces us to grow. It is the mechanism through which nature ensures evolution and the way God calls us home. It scares away our illusions about ourselves and others. Angel of mercy or Saturnian disciplinarian, change is constantly tailoring us to become all that we are meant to be. It molds us as surely as winds sculpt a tree or flowing waters reshape the hardest rock. Through change, we are initiated into higher and higher states of consciousness. Our consciousness is our total awareness, a synthesis of heart and mind that enables us to act.
Chipping around, kick my brain to the ground. These are the days it never rained, but it pours
On the edge of every day. And we are back with Gloria Karpinski. So we can find you, Gloria, at, I want to make sure that we say this a few times. Gloria has a wonderful YouTube channel. All of the places you can find her are going to be in the show notes, but you can find her at gloriakarpinski.com. You can order books, read all about her wonderful programs where she's going to be teaching, etc., on her website. So let's talk about your new book. That is not on your website yet.
Not yet. It's not up there yet.
So what is this new book about?
The new book is called Blossoms of Fire.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a line that comes actually from a poem and a Wright poem, Richard Wright poem.
Okay.
And it's really what in the publishing world they would call a hybrid.
Oh, okay.
Which means that it's in this case it's a memoir.
Of course, it
combined
has to be a bit
with
of that.
teaching.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. So
okay, so do you talk about this question in the book? Have there been in your life?
Are there what?
Have there been in your life responsibilities you've needed to embrace or challenges you've needed to face in the deepening relationship that you've experienced with spirit?
Well, of course. As long as we're human, we're challenged. right? Unless we're walking on water, and I don't personally know anybody walking on water.
I love it.
But until that time comes, we're constantly seeking to know ourselves. That was what was written of the Delphica Oracle. It is still the
Indeed.
number one mandate, is to know
Talk
ourselves.
about it often, yes.
Yeah, and then to acquire ways and means of maintaining compassion and love, and developing increased detachment from reacting to everything that comes along, and so forth. There's a multitude of lessons that happen once we wake up.
Right.
Once, you
Indeed.
know,
Well,
then
of
the
course.
training really starts.
Of course. Well, I suppose I'm speaking more in terms of personal experiences, things that you didn't expect that could model for people who are awakening. You know, when spirit calls, there are certain I need to step into this, and to realize that, you know, that is a calling for a deepening relationship
Absolutely.
with spirit.
Absolutely. Well, I found myself on my own with 2 children to raise, on my own.
Wow. Yes.
You know, I have not worked under the auspices of a church or a college or a center, even though I've worked in lots of them.
Yeah.
You
don't
know,
have that umbrella
so
to
that has meant that I've had to be willing to also be very pragmatic and
a pragmatic
and
visionary.
yeah, pragmatic visionary. That's the truth, really.
Yeah.
So, and then of course, you know, we would be here all night if I started unraveling step by step what I've had to learn, you know. But I would say balance been the number one imperative in my personal life.
Yes.
Which does remind me of something I did want to say, is that paradoxes, I've been taught in spirit, is not the same thing as ambivalence or contradiction. A spirit one time said to me, a paradox exists when the mind has stretched far enough to embrace seeming opposites. And the operative phrase there is seeming.
Yeah.
Seeming opposites. They're not really opposites. But whereas ambivalence is either or and keeps us stuck. You know, contradiction is I've got to choose one or the other.
Right.
You know, so I would say that learning to handle paradox, by whatever name we call it, balance, has been a challenge. The balance between the spiritual world and I'm a very practical person. Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Pay my mortgage.
I do.
And my light bill on time, you know. No, I'm being facetious, of course. But
well,
to some extent, I'm not, you know.
Understood. Well, we've got a minute till we're finished.
Oh,
I know it just flies by in a blink of an eye. I know it just every single episode I'm like this, but quickly again, GloriaKarpinski.com, the new book, Blossom by Fire.
no, Blossoms of Fire.
Blossoms of Fire. And Gloria Karpinski, I can't thank you enough for guesting on The Edge of Every Day.
Well, thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for spending this hour with us. Remember, you are always at the edge of the miraculous. See you next week.
Yes. Many blessings.
This is our last dance. This is ourselves under pressure. Under pressure. Under pressure.
You're listening to